Good morning, everybody. We are going into the weekly horoscope for this coming week, October 21st through the 26th, 2024. And what we're going to do in this video is go over the chart for every day and talk about the most important transits that are going on that day and the energies and what they're going to be bringing up and how it may affect you for your day. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and minimize my screen here. And we're going to start on Monday, October 21st. All right, here we are on Monday. Now the moon's going to start out in Gemini, and then she's going to enter Cancer in the evening at 6:49 p.m. But before she does that, early in the morning at 3:24 a.m., she's going to conjoin Jupiter. Now, the moon and Jupiter together is a beautiful transit that shows confidence and optimism and just feeling aligned with our beliefs and our visions for our lives. It's a great time to get along well with others, and we have blessings and help and aid coming to us in our personal lives. And I really love to see that starting out our week. Now, moving on in the afternoon is when most of our transits are going to be taking place. In the afternoon at 2:50 p.m., the moon in Gemini will make a square to Neptune in Pisces retrograde. Now, that is a hard transit. That means deceptions, lies, illusions, so the moon represents our emotions and how we feel about things, and Neptune represents loss and feeling uncertain about things and in a fog, and can also represent lies and deceptions. So there's something going on Monday where we are feeling like a little bit, where we are feeling like disillusioned about something, or we find out that somebody lied to us, or that somebody's been deceiving, us or whatever. And our beliefs are kind of going through some changes about that with that recent conjunction to Jupiter. Then at 4:59 p.m., the moon in Gemini will perfect her trine to the sun in Libra. And that's a really good transit. That means harmony between the lights. And it means that what we're doing in our circumstances and our everyday lives is in harmony with our long-term goals and our ambitions and the plot lines of our lives. I love to see harmony between the lights. It means that really good things are happening that day and things are possible. Then at 6:49 p.m., the moon will enter Cancer, and that is when things will go from a mental focus to an emotional focus. The moon in Cancer is all about feelings, all about connecting with our family, and all about wanting to feel safe and secure. It's also kind of a time during the month when we are kind of being a little bit more indirect or passive about things. We don't really want to attack anything head on when the moon's in Cancer. So we may sidestep things a little bit more. Then at 6:51 p.m., Mercury's going to be perfecting his sesquiquadrate to Neptune. Now you can see that there's a sesquiquadrate between the moon and Mercury as well. And also we still have that moon in square to Neptune. So this is really all going together here. Now what that means, the sesquiquadrate from Mercury to Neptune, is it's again deception and miscommunication, but it's also delays. And so there could be some delays to learning or hearing the news about the deception or the miscommunication or the lies or whatnot. So there's something going on where we know, we can feel it intuitively with the moon in that square to Neptune. We know that something's off, but we're not hearing the news about it. We're not getting clear communication about it. So it's almost like propaganda where you can see, like you can intuitively feel that, hey, that's propaganda, but we're not actually getting it's not a direct communication that it's propaganda or something like that, So there's something off with the communication and the messages that are going out today, and it feels a little bit weird. Thankfully, we do have that trine from the moon to the sun, which is perfecting today, which is really nice. It means that things are still moving smoothly along towards our goals. So I like to see that. So we can see here at the end of Monday that the energy is really building up between the sun and Pluto, which will perfect on Tuesday. So let's move ahead to Tuesday's horoscope so we can talk about what the sun square Pluto means. All right, so here we are on Tuesday, And we can see that the moon is in Cancer. The moon's going to be in Cancer all day. So early in the morning at 2:34 a.m., Mercury perfected a trine to Saturn. So we can see Mercury here in a trine to Saturn. That means really good things in terms of our communication. We're able to have rational and logical thinking. We can concentrate. We have good focus. It's good for organization or any sort of communication where there's a serious air about it, and it's sort of like agreements can be made easily when we have Mercury in a trine to Saturn. Then at 6:09 a.m., the moon is going to square the nodes from the northern bending. And what that means is that there will be some sort of outward event that happens in your life or in your family. And at the world at large, this could also be something that happens in the world at large that affects you on a personal level. But there will be something that happens or that is announced that happens in your life. And it's sort of a public event. Then at 10:15 a.m., the sun will perfect his square to Pluto. And I wanted to just read to you guys from Reinhold Eberton's book, The Combination of Stellar Influences, what Sun square Pluto can bring. So the principle of Sun and Pluto together in general is the striving for power, the craving for rulership, the power of attainment. And when they're in a challenging square, this can be the craving for rulership, fanatical aspirations or tendencies, overestimation of self and arrogance. And also the Sun square Pluto has to do with physical sufferings, and there could be a danger to life and vitality because Pluto represents death and transformation, and the Sun represents our life force. And traditionally, the father also can represent Sun can represent the father or an authority figure. And since Pluto represents transformation and irrevocable change, it always brings up challenges to the life force and vitality when we have the Sun square Pluto. So that is a really hard transit to be dealing with on Tuesday, and we're going to be feeling that energy build up on Monday as well. In the evening on Tuesday, the sun will enter Scorpio. So I want to go ahead and just advance the chart here a little bit, couple of hours to 6, 7. Okay, now we can see the sun in Scorpio here. You can see that the sun has now moved into Scorpio. We can also see that we have a grand water trine that is forming between Saturn and the moon and Mercury and Saturn. So Mercury made a trine to Saturn yesterday, and then the moon is making a trine to both Saturn and Mercury today, really bringing those things together. Whatever we were thinking about or doing yesterday that required an agreeable commitment, and now that's coming into a personal level. So since the moon is also squaring the nodes today, this could be something that has to do with relationship commitments or commitments to your family or work commitments, or some sort of commitment or some sort of contract is signed and dated, and it's now sort of like in the public domain, right? All right, so the sun has now moved into Scorpio. Scorpio is a fixed water sign. It's the middle of fall. When the sun moves into Scorpio, this highlights the Scorpio house on our natal charts and our solar returns, and it illuminates whatever's going on in that house. So there's a cyclical nature to where the sun travels every single year because it always goes through the houses in a certain order within your natal chart, right? So when the sun is in Scorpio, we can expect to have a deeper look into things, a deeper need and desire to really find out about things and illuminate the shadow sides of ourselves and do the shadow work that we might need to do for that year. In the seasons, all of the trees are losing their leaves, and the leaves have fallen down on the ground, and everything is starting to decay and go back into the earth, right? Well, the same sort of thing happens within our soul every year in this annual seasonal cycle. We start to want to go within, right? We want to spend more time inside. We want to drink hot beverages. We want to be a little bit more comfortable and safe. We want to retreat into that safe space, but we also have to come face to face with some of those darker parts of ourselves as well, because we are looking for our internal light that is going to help us get through the rest of fall and winter. That's one of the reasons why we have so many holidays during this time, is to keep our spirits up. We need to have things to celebrate to help us get through this time of the year when everything starts to go dormant, starts to die and go dormant. That could be really depressing if you didn't understand that spring is on the other side of winter and that we're going to be rounding the bend. But, a long time ago, when fall came and we harvested everything and then we went into winter, we didn't always know if we were going to make it to the other side. So Scorpio is a time when we come face to face with our resources. How much did we harvest? Is it going to be enough? We weighed all that out during Libra season. And now we are actually going through the period of hunkering down, packing it away, saving it, and protecting it from the elements. And now that we know how much we have and how far it's going to take us, now we are going to be nurturing and tending to our internal selves. And that's why we look inside during Scorpio season. And that's why we celebrate, our loved ones who've passed on and whatnot, because our ancestors give us strength to keep going forward. So it's a really, magical and mystical and spiritual time of the year. All right. So then after this grand water trine between all of these things, Venus actually makes positive aspects to the nodes. So let me show you that. So Venus is making a sextile to the south node and a trine to the north node. And that means that within our relationship, things are going to be going smoothly today. And that is really nice. So on the horizon for tomorrow, the moon is getting closer and closer to her conjunction with Mars. So let's move on to Wednesday. On Wednesday, we have the moon in Cancer all day, and early in the morning, she made a square to Chiron in Aries. That could have brought up some vulnerabilities or some places where you are feeling wounded. And then she conjoined Mars in Cancer here. Now, this is emotional, fiery feelings, rushing or energetic or feeling easily frustrated. Could be feeling whiny, feeling like having a good time with family and doing stuff and being active. But there's also this edge that could be really hard and challenging, especially with that square to Chiron at the same time. Thankfully, the moon is also making a sextile to Uranus in Taurus retrograde and a trine to Neptune in Pisces retrograde throughout the day. And what that means is that she's able to go with the flow. Anything that comes up that is challenging and sort of disrupting to her day with that Uranian energy, she's able to kind of go with it. And that means that we're going to go with it too. And then the trine to Neptune means that there could be a dreamy aspect to the day, sort of harmonious feeling or feeling in tune with nature or having a really good time with music or something like that, which is really nice because all of those are tempering the moon with Mars today. Then at 9:52 p.m., the last transit of Wednesday, the moon will make a sesquiquadrate to Saturn in Pisces retrograde. And this means that there could be some delays. All of those things, all of the commitments and whatnot that we talked about earlier in the week with the nice grand trine between the moon and Mercury and Saturn. Now it's like, okay, we signed the document. We said we would commit to it. And now we're waiting for somebody else to do their part, or we're waiting for the letter to get there, or we're waiting for the email to be received, or we're waiting for something to come back to us to let us know that whatever it was accepted. So there's delays. What we need to do is have patience, which could be hard with the moon and Mars together, but you're listening to this horoscope, which means that you are prepared and you have been warned that it will be hard on Wednesday when the moon is with Mars to kind of keep it in check. Hopefully you'll be able to do that because we do have those supportive aspects between Uranus and Neptune. Maybe that will help temper this fieriness with Mars. And so we won't get quite as frustrated with the sesquiquadrate to Saturn. Then on Thursday, we have a third quarter moon trine Venus. So let's get on to Thursday so we can look at that chart. So here we are on Thursday, and we have the moon in Cancer. She ingresses into Leo at 1:23 a.m. But before she does, she makes an opposition to Pluto in Capricorn over here. Now, this is definitely a hard transit. It can bring up lots of feelings about our survival. And, we just had the moon with Mars, so we could be feeling pretty aggressive and frustrated and angry at life. And now we're coming face to face with something that has to do with our survival. How are we going to make it forward? Then I'm going to take everything off the chart here, and I'm going to show you her ingress into Leo. Here we go. She moves into Leo, and then she immediately starts to engage in the third quarter square with the sun. So we have the moon here at the left-hand side of the chart, about 10 o'clock on the chart wheel, and she is in a square to the sun right here in Scorpio. So the third quarter square is a time when we are taking stock of what we have accomplished during the month, what we set out during our intentions, during the solar eclipse, or whatever might have, happened on its own, what came to its fullest potential during the full moon. And now in the third quarter phase, this is when we are taking stock of what we have accomplished, what we still have, and what we can turn it into that is long lasting. So it's another sort of crisis moment or individuation point where we are creating something, but instead of creating something new as we do with the first quarter square, we are creating something, sort of repurposed with what we already have. Later on in the afternoon, the moon in Leo will perfect a semi-square to Jupiter retrograde. And we can see that here in the chart right there. Now, the semi-square to Jupiter retrograde is going to show that there's something that we want to have happen, or something that we believe is on the horizon for us, but it's experiencing setbacks and delays. Then additionally, the moon will be making nice aspects to the nodes on Thursday. She will be making a trine to the north node and a sextile to, that's not the south node, and a sextile to the south node. That's really good. That means that things are going to move smoothly along today, and I really like to see that. Then additionally, the moon in the evening at 5:43 p.m. will be forming a trine to Venus in Sagittarius. And that is really, really nice for our relationships. It's really nice for getting along with people in our family or other people, friendships. And it's a beautiful energy that means love and affection and compassion and friendship. And it's with the fire signs, so it's fun, it's energetic, it's playful. I really love to see that for Thursday night. I think that's going to make a really nice, sort of top off to the day. There could be a lot of like after work types of parties or in the evening types of parties at home or whatever. It's just feeling really, really good by the end of the day. And the last transit that we have on Thursday is Mars perfecting his sextile to Uranus in Taurus. And I like to see this. I feel like it's really going to enhance that Moon-Venus dynamic that we have going on with the trine between the Moon and Venus. And it's going to mean that we're kind of like breaking through things in innovative ways. We have, like we could have obstacles in our way, but the opportunity, the sextile between Mars and Uranus means that we are thinking outside the box. We are coming up with solutions, and we're able to push through things in ways we didn't think that we could, or that we thought were impossible or whatnot. So I feel like this is a really dynamic transit that means that our leadership skills are top notch. We have the fire with the moon in Leo and Venus in Sagittarius that's really supportive of creativity and getting things going. And I like this with third quarter square because it means that we're really putting in a lot of creative effort into what we are creating out of what we still have in the month, from the beginning of the month, what we still have to work with, right? So I like this energy. I think it's really positive for Thursday. Now, the energy is building towards another yod, which is going to happen on Friday and over the weekend. So let's get into the Friday through Sunday horoscopes next. All right, so here we are on Friday, October 25th, 2024, and we have the moon here in Leo. And the main thing that's going to be happening on Friday is that the moon is going to be making a square to Mercury throughout the day. About 12:41 p.m. is when she's going to perfect that square. And moon square Mercury is not an easy transit. It means miscommunications. It means possibly arguments and fights and stuff like that. It also means car trouble or transportation issues. So keep that in mind for Friday. Moving on to Saturday, the moon is going to start out in Leo here, but then she's going to be moving into Virgo throughout the day. So There's also a yod that's forming between the moon and Neptune, Neptune and Pluto and the moon. Once she hits that 27 degrees of Leo, she'll be making that quincunx with Neptune, as well as beginning to make the quincunx with Pluto. So that's a yod formation that we have going on here. A yod is a configuration between three planets. Two planets are in sextile. In this case, we have Pluto and Neptune, and they want to work together. So we want to transform our structures in some way, and we want to do it in sort of an ideal way with Neptune. And that's all getting funneled through the moon. So that's getting funneled through the people. It's getting funneled through our emotions. So emotionally, we are reacting to this desire to transform things on a deep level, a deep spiritual level, and we're having to bring it out into our actual immediate environment and our circumstances, and having to process it in our emotions. So there could be something going on with that kind of vibe over the weekend. Then at 11:47 a.m., the moon will enter Virgo. So let's go ahead and move to Sunday so we can see what the moon in Virgo is going to be up to. So here we are on Sunday. We've got the moon in Virgo, and throughout the day, the moon will oppose Saturn and square Venus. So this is a really hard aspect for Sunday to have, and it means that there could be contention in our relationships. We could be coming up to a place where we feel like we have an ultimatum, or we have some sort of dilemma that we have to make a decision about, and it is serious. It's another reality check moment to the monthly cycle that we're having to deal with. Additionally, we are having another yod. So we've got this yod is with Mercury. Mercury's at the apex. We have Jupiter in a sextile to Chiron, and then both of those planets are pointing to Mercury. So this means that whatever our wounds are, whatever things that we are feeling vulnerable about, and the beliefs that we have about them that we're trying to change, that we're trying to work with, it's all going to be filtered through Mercury. Mercury is going to have to talk about it, communicate about it, and let people know how they're thinking. So we're going to be feeling these things as well. We're going to be having to talk about our feelings, about our vulnerabilities and our wounds, and what we envision for our futures and what we believe in. And we're going to have to talk about those things and try to make sense of it all. So that is definitely coming up this weekend. You can see here in the Sunday chart that we have Venus building up to her square to Saturn, which will perfect next week. Mars is going to be making his trine to Neptune. You can see they're already in a partile trine on Sunday. Mars is at 27 degrees Cancer, 6 minutes, and Neptune is at 27 degrees Pisces, 35 minutes retrograde. So that means that Monday, Mars will be making that trine to Neptune. We also have a new moon in Scorpio that is coming. You can see the moon here in Virgo. She's about 60 degrees away from the new moon. It's going to be at 9 degrees Scorpio. So she's not quite in her balsamic phase yet. That'll be in the beginning of next week. She'll enter that balsamic phase because we're going to be having that new moon on November 1st. So it's a turning point in our relationships next week, or our finances. It's a powerful new focus. So we're going to be talking about that in next week's weekly horoscope. I hope you guys enjoyed this weekly horoscope, and coming up next on the channel is going to be a tarot card reading for the collective for this week. See you guys next time.